Hello, everyone. I am 13, and tonight's going to be a hoot. Sorry, no, that didn't feel right. Forgive me, I didn't say that. That's bad. That's so bad. Please don't leave. Well, tonight we're going to be playing Alien Mine. So this is, I'd actually probably just call this a Jeff Hoogland deck. He's pretty much the one famous for it. He ended up doing a couple of paper tournaments, and this kind of just stemmed from what he was working on. This deck is pretty similar to Smallpox, but instead of destroying lands, we're going to be returning them to hand. This deck tonight has been rated M for meme. Yes, we are not going to do anything productive here tonight. We are going to draw cards, we're going to bounce things, we're probably going to die by letting our opponents draw a million cards. I've lost because I'd prefer to draw cards in games. I do it all the time, only now it's going to be me and the opponent drawing cards, and if things go right, we can actually take out a winning record, but if things go about standard, I expect to do 1-4, maybe 2-3 tonight. So, onto the deck. This deck is the name of the deck comes from Howling Mine and the Ebony Owl Netsuke. I don't think I'm actually saying that correctly. Somebody can correct me, but I believe it's Netsuke. The idea is that we're going to be drawing a lot of cards. We will eventually get some Fevered Vision kills. Fevered Visions also helps chip away at our opponent's life total. We'll see why we need to do that in a second. But basically, we draw a lot of cards, punish opponent for having cards in hand. If they get above 7, the Netsuke is going to basically kill the opponent. But in the meantime, we're going to be using Vision Skeins. Each player draws cards, Dictative Crucifix. We're actually probably going to be making it so that opponent draws cards before us with Dictate, which is in its typical use, but unless it's a very weird situation, we're going to run it out main phase. And then Runeflare Trap. So Runeflare Trap is actually the reason that we can kill people. If an opponent drew 3 or more cards this turn, you may pay red rather than the 6 mana cost, and it deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards in their hand. So ideally, we end up having Howling Mine and Fevered Visions and Dictative Crucifix and We Visions, and meanwhile, eventually we get them up to above 7 cards in hand. Netsuke is going to eventually deal 4 damage if it's above 7, but Runeflare Trap's just going to ping him in the face. Ideally, when we Runeflare Trap, opponent will have at least 10 cards in hand. That way, when we activate 2 traps, we end up killing them. This lowers the requirements by gradually chipping in damage from Fevered Visions. Basically, just draw a ton of cards, keep pinging opponents, slowly drain them. And then early game, we're going to be trying to use Boomerang and Eye of Nowhere to return lands, try to keep them off of tempo. And then we have Remand to try to keep the spells in their hand. But basically, general concept here is hopefully early, just keep them off their land drops, make them draw a ton of cards, slowly ping them to death, eventually trap for lethal. And that's the deck tonight. So, love to play first. And this is slightly awkward. So, mulligan rules probably actually hurting this deck because opponents are more willing to mulligan. We do have the ability here to turn to Fevered Vision, so I'm kind of willing to keep it. That means we're going to be Scalding Tarn, Noxious Revival, put Scalding Tarn on top, and then Simian Spirit Guide out Fevered Visions. Exhaustion's going to keep our opponent tapped down for a while. This is fine. I'm not excited about it, but this deck is a meme. We are basically just trying to draw cards and do stupid things, and that is something that this hand actually gets to accomplish. So, turn. And we can actually ship it back for now. Oh boy. Alright, big things are coming. We don't need to take a shock here, but we do need to Noxious Revival. All the pain. Alright, well, there's our Scalding Tarn. Again, get an island here because I'm half expecting Blood Moon from the opponent. We do run several islands, so that shouldn't be a problem. But exile the Spirit Guide and Fevered Visions. So we'll be able to draw a card here, and we did get this out early enough that opponent should be taking some chip damage off of this. And hopefully this exhaustion is going to do some damage. So if opponent taps out for something, we are happy. Second island is fantastic. Thank you, deck. I was actually concerned about land drops here. Alright, opponent's got 4 mana. Let's see what they can do. Blood Moon's actually not as bad as we would hope. There's a bird. And a tracker. Alright, so if we exhaustion here, opponent's going to end up taking 1 mana as well as a land drop. Alternatively, we can Fevered Visions and still probably get another ping. If opponent is on Ponza, that means likely we're going to be looking at a Inferno Titan. If it's an Inferno Titan, I'm cool with that. Opponent's apparently excited about Fevered Visions. And Runeflare Trap is fantastic. So Dictate and Fevered means that they're going to have a ton of cards in hand. They hopefully won't be cracking any clues for Tracker. Oh boy, but this can go downhill so quickly. They currently have 7 mana on the table. And they're drawing 3 cards a turn, plus clues. Alright, opponent's cracking clues. Not really going to complain about that. Courser. Oh boy, there's a Stone Rain. Alright, well hopefully we'll be hitting our land drops every turn. We should hopefully be drawing 4 cards a turn. Come on, opponent, crack the last clue. You can do it. I have faith in you. Alright, so they draw the Stone Rain. They have 6 cards in hand. Runeflare Trap will hit them for 6. They go down to 7. Alternatively, at exhaustion, they draw 3 cards next turn. Oh, this is difficult. Alright, well, I'm just going to... Exhaustion has higher upside. I keep changing on this, and I really shouldn't be. But for now, you'll have 3 mana. I don't have to exile Simian Spirit Guide for the Runeflare Trap, which means next turn I can double 3 CMC spell. Or another Simian Spirit Guide means... Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so we might kill opponent here. I'm on board for that. Double Runeflare Trap means that opponent with 7 cards in hand is lethal. We need them to draw 2 cards, which they should be drawing off of Fevered Visions at end step. Opponent gets to gain a life off of the Courser. They get a Stone Rain us, but that won't do anything. I'm feeling pretty confident. This is looking alright. Yep, 2 damage from Courser doesn't mean a whole lot. Opponent does have a Lightning Bolt, but we're not even remotely close to dying. Yep, that's fine. Pew pew. And opponent is quite dead. Awesome. Alright, so playing against Ponza. We don't have anything for Ponza, so... Nimble Obstructionist can counter a triggered ability, but that's not a winning game. Chalice can stop Arbor Elf and Utopia Sprawl, but not amazingly well. Anger can sweep away little stuff, but we're probably going to be looking at Simian Spirit Guide if that's what we're doing. Counterflux can counter Destructive Revelry if they've got it. They will end up having sideboard hate for us, but given our opponent's response to getting killed by Runeflare Trap, they probably aren't expecting Howling Mine to come out of us. Chalice feels like the best thing that we can bring in. Counterflux seems like it's probably okay to bring in. But I don't really think I care. Shatterstorm can take out clues from Tracker. We're going to fall behind. We also did keep a one-lander against Ponza. That I feel like that is worth mentioning. Yeah. Hopefully Boomerang and Eye of Nowhere will end up grabbing the fours that they invest their Utopia Sprawls on. As far as cuts/trims... Chalice for Crip? What's Crip? I mean, they could have Corrosion Grip, but I'd have to have a Chalice on 3, and we've probably already won by that point. Oh, Cryptic Command. What's Chalice going to hit, though? I'd have to Chalice on 2 for Destructive Revelry or Grudge. Cryptic is very expensive and very mana intensive. I actually think I'd be more on board for this. I'll take Chalice. We'll reevaluate for next game. And it does stop all their dorks as well as their Utopia Sprawls and all that. It stops their fast mana. Alright, well, we actually run the Cascade Bluffs so that we can Simian Spirit Guide and Eye of Nowhere on 1. But this seems fine. We're going to end up Howling Mine on 1 with Eye of Nowhere on 2, and then probably Fevered Visions on 3. This hand does everything I want it to. And hopefully Howling Mine's going to stick around for a little bit. Well, yay Howling Mine on turn 1. It's going to help our opponent, but when we're squatting on this level of cards, it seems fine. The Chalices are in the sideboard primarily for, like, Phoenix. Oh, that's disgusting. Well, there's the Cascade Bluffs. Cascade Bluffs is coming down next turn, so I can actually filter it into Fevered Visions. And they currently don't have red. Given the fact that they don't have red, I'm guessing that we can sorcery this back to hand, keep the instant for the future. Blood Moon's not going to do anything here, but I am concerned about potentially getting like Inferno Titaned or something horrible. They just need to have a Utopia Sprawl, and they already have 6 mana, even without the bird. Might have been a reason to hang on to the Boomerang, but... Okay, Tracker's not bad. Fetch land's kind of bad. Alright, and that's why you want Chalice on 1. Bradwan, you were right. And I guess this is Fevered Visions. Just start getting our card draw back on. Their only finisher here is Tireless Tracker, and we have a couple of ways to deal with that. Ooh, boy. Yeah, I really don't like the fact that they're land destruction. We get to draw replacement lands, but that's essentially what our game plan is. Theirs is just better at it. But we have Fevered Visions. Come on. And they're getting Value Town on, although they probably want to run out the cards in hand with Fevered Visions out. Fevered Visions cares about your opponent having 4 or more cards in hand after drawing. So potentially playing lands out of hand are just better. And that actually kind of mana fixes us. Alright, well, as long as opponent isn't actually threatening anything massive, Exhaustion's looking great here. If we get a Simian Spirit Guide, we can Exhaustion and Vision Scans. We need multiple blues here, so another basic seems fine. Exhaustion's going to keep everything tapped down but the Courser. Fevered Visions, I'd love a Simian Spirit Guide. Exhaustion's fine. Alright, not super excited opponent having that Stone Rain, but hopefully they just crack a Cluke here and then we get Exhaustion again. And hold up Remand. I mean, all in all, things are coming up kind of Millhouse. Alright, so we can Howling Mine and Exhaustion here. Opponent's still tapped down like crazy. Alternatively, can Vision Scines or Remand. Opponent hasn't shown me anything I actually want to Remand here. So in the meantime, we'll just keep tapping them down, drawing them cards. Next turn should be able to Fevered Visions. Just basically telling opponent what's been going on. Seems interested in our deck. He's happy about the Fevered Visions. This is actually a pretty similar game plan to Ponza, as far as like just one for oneing their lands and trying to stay ahead of curve, doing something a little bit better than your opponent. Ooh, Chalice is a little interesting, but not hitting a land here I think is going to set me up into Vision Scines. We each draw 2, I'll get an additional land, I can Exhaustion again. Even if I miss. And this deck actually probably needs a Reliquary Tower. But in the meantime, Exhaustion round 3. No point in chalicing on 0. Just nothing to be benefited there. Noxious Revival gets to rebuy. It's too late for Chalice. We probably want the Fevered Visions. I'm okay to trim on a Remand since we're going to have another Exhaustion on top of our deck. And then we just have multiple copies of this. The sorcery's worse. Yeah, opponent's not having an amazing amazing time on their side of the table. They had Glorybringer? That's spicy. I mean, I suppose it has the same effect as Inferno Tide, and it's going to ping a problem. Exhaustion. I probably could have been paying more attention to what's actually going into their hand. All I know is I get a Fevered Visions and Exhaustion next turn, and then probably end up drawing into a lethal Runeflare trap, so... each opponent's upkeep if they have 7 or more cards in hand. Alright, so we'll see if they've been squatting on a Bolt. Exhaust you. Netsuke. And I'm actually a fan of Remand here. If they are holding on to a Bolt, it means that it's going to go back to hand. Although they'll try to Bolt us in step seeing the Netsuke. So that can just be a... I tapped incorrectly. We need to be able to Boomerang there. Yeah, I'm still on Remand. Depending on what they're going for, we can Remand. The Courser gaining them life has actually been kind of mean. Although, looking at the board state, I don't think I can really talk about mean. Alright, so opponent's going to draw, go to 10. I actually need to set an upkeep stop on my turn so I can flash out Dictate and draw an additional card. Because I really, really, really need to Runeflare trap them. So Dictate comes down previous to our draw step. We get to see an additional card. Oh boy, that's getting rough. So I can Howling Mine, I can Boomerang the Tireless Tracker, but opponent's going to be able to untap. I can also Fevered Visions and try to draw into a trap. I need to see the trap really quick. Draw 3 or more. So we currently have 2 Howling Mines out, which means that if we see a trap, we can cast it for red. So that's going to be Fevered Visions. We'll see an additional draw at our end step, but then we're going to be taking the full force of what opponent's got going for him, which is going to be a Giant Scooze and Courser and Tracker. Yeah, I don't like it, but we're going to have to try to draw 2 cards here and see what happens. Opponent's only going to be taking 4 from the Netsuko. Come on, trap. Out of nowhere. Alright, there's a trap. So we can discard a mine. Sorcery. Sure, another Visions. So opponent's going to be taking 4 here. They're going to draw 3, go up to 10. We get to trap them for lethal. I should have had a stop at the end of draw step. That's on me. No! I need priority. Turn off auto yields. If we lose here, I'm going to be sad. We could have killed them in their draw step. Instead, they get main phases and get chances to empty the hand. Yeah, that was my bad for not setting the correct stops. I knew I had to for Dictate, but I didn't properly play that out. So if opponent gets to run out 2 instants, they're still dead. They need to get 3 instants out. There's 1. Oh, and they gain life. Yeah. Alright, well, I'm probably just dead here. It wouldn't have mattered if I had done that in draw step because they can still gain enough life. They can still get the Blood Braids and the Glory Bringer. And so currently looking at 7, 10, 12. Yeah, we're dead. We can go on to the next one. Yeah. That makes sense. I guess I need Anger's in. I think Anger's might be better than the Chalice. An early Chalice last game would have been fantastic, but Anger could have cleared the board. That's also why I put the Archive Traps in, especially post Pyromancer's Ascension. They draw most of their deck, and only getting a single Archive Trap off could mill them out, and I really want to mill out Phoenix. That's going to be on my bucket list for tonight. We are currently 1-1 versus Ponza, though. Saw all the exhaustions and nothing else. Okay, so London Mulligan does treat our combo half of this deck fairly well. I think we have to ship this back. Turn 2, Howling Mine isn't good enough. Turn 2, Boomerang on a Crucial Utopia Sprawl is, but we can do better than that. Oh, this is a turn 1 Boomerang. That just seems fantastic. So, gonna ship back. Boy, I actually think it's gonna be Fevered Visions. No, it's gonna be the last land. They're Ponza, though. Oh, it's gonna be the last land. And I actually think I want a Howling Mine. So, the reason that we have the Simian Spirit Guides and the Cascade Bluffs is because you can exile this for red, get double blue, and Boomerang on turn 1. I don't think that that's good enough here. I think what I want to do is just Simian Spirit Guide and get out the Howling Mine. And opponent did actually see artifacts this time around, so it's quite possible that they brought in Artifact Hate when they didn't last game. Alright, so that's kind of interesting. I believe I'm just on Boomerang here. Ugh. The Moto filter lands. They still get birds, but land goes back to hand. More than likely playing out a land, another door can still discard into hand size. Oh, they don't have another land. So I can Fevered Visions next turn and start setting up Noxious Revival loops. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm on day 4 of a migraine. Monday was horrible for anybody who caught that stream. Like, just absolutely horrible. I'm clearly struggling. Alright, what do I actually care about here? So opponent's going to have 4 mana. I intentionally didn't play out this basic because I'm concerned about them just wanting to slam a Blood Moon and not having it really impact us. In fact, it almost mana fixes us. Alright. I'll take a 3/3. Funny enough, though, I actually want to do that again, so run it back. This time we'll have up Remand. Again, still don't really want to show my opponent the basic unless I absolutely have to, so hopefully get some beats in. When this deck is trying to slowly chip away until we can get a trap kill, 3 damage is actually really going to help the cause. Huh. Apparently opponent doesn't need mana that badly. And I'm leaving the basic untapped intentionally here. I do want to be able to remand, and I'm probably not going to care about a Blood Moon. So like Blood Moon comes down, Blood Moon can hit, I'll just run out my basic next turn. So opponent's going to have 4 mana. Multiple cards in hand. Stone Rain on Miku Koro. Yeah, that's good enough for a remand. Another Fevered Visions is cute. Alright. Wow. I guess they couldn't. Alright, Scalding Tarn's going to get us a basic, more than likely. In the meantime, we get to Fevered Visions. Hold up Skynes and Boomerang. If opponent Utopia sprawls, I'm going to be so happy. Oh, wow. Alright, so opponent is definitely respecting their life total. Rocky's definitely playing with his little squeaker. Ooh, so now we get a Boomerang. We can't Runeflare Trap. We need one more mana. Alright, so I can Boomerang here. I really don't think that's going to be overly helpful. I think I'd rather just hit them for 9 while they're tapped out. And that means I can't get a basic, but whatever. I feel like we're pretty far ahead. Pew! Oh, okay, so that should be game. We can go ahead and Boomerang, get our beats in. Alright, well, ended up taking 2-1 against Ponza. I do feel like we have similar strategies there. Their deck is a little bit more streamlined, but put up a good fight. Opponent was a cool dude. Shout out to him if he ever ends up seeing this. We will definitely take the play. And we have a single land. Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, that's not good enough. Alright, well, we already have to ship one thing back. We can ship back a bounce land. We'll have 3 mana, but a Howling Mine active. We can Skynes remand. Well, this isn't a modern power level hand, but these are cards we put in our deck, so I'm going to go ahead and just hang on to it. Running out the Scalding Tarn makes us look a little bit more like Phoenix, so hopefully opponent starts planning for an aggro, or they'll be humans and kind of just laugh at us and go wide with creatures. Well, we really need to draw cards here, so I'm just going to Howling Mine. We need to hit our land drop, then we can hopefully start 1-for-1ing their creatures, and Remand does nothing through a cavern, but they started on unclaimed territory. Shenanigans. This deck does look a lot more like the Turns deck, since this Turns deck has become more popular. Well, that's a Thalia. And that means we're probably on Vision Skynes. I don't like fueling humans. That just feels like a losing battle. This is going to be a Noble. Otherwise, Champion would come down before Thalia. And this deck is all about the tempo plays. Right now I'm trying to figure out if it's more worthwhile for me to try to bounce the 3-2 Thalia before combat and just allow them to put it down through Aether Vial, or if I want to bounce the Aether Vial and try to slowly deal with the board. Alright, well that means I'm going to be bouncing Thalia more than likely. pretty much guaranteed. They'll still get a replayer through the Noble Hierarch and the Ancient Ziggurat and grow the champion, but this is not a winning position. This is not where you want to be at. Oh, that's a sorcery. I'm so bad at this game. I thought that was Boomerang. I thought we were good. Opponent, would you like to draw 2 cards? And learn why you should tap creatures before mana? Before vials, I mean. Alright, so we Howling Mine. This Thalia is making things painful. So I can bounce Thalia. They'll go up to 8 cards in hand. Draw from Howling Mine. I can double Runeflare trap them for very, very close to lethal. So if I stay alive for 1 more turn, I think I might have this. Although that will make them draw 2, and I can do that in step. This Thalia is making things so painful. So I Vision Skins at instep. They draw 2 cards. Then I wait until their draw step, and they draw 3 more next turn. Hopefully be at 10. Double Runeflare trap. Oh, this is painful. Howling Mine will also try to make sure we hit a land drop and potentially draw us into a Simian Spirit Guide. If I don't do anything at the table right now, it's currently 4, 7, 8, but Thalia's Lieutenant's going to get big, and Thalia's Lieutenant or Phantasmal Image is basically lethal. I think we're on Vision Skins, and hopefully they just can't run out their hand or they commit into a greedy Mantis Rider. Not a great spot, though, especially if they have a freebooter. And now we see why this deck is a meme, because having your opponent draw cards is quite bad for your strategy. Huh. Alright, well, that's horrible. Name's Cryptic Command. Interesting. The opponent should know we wouldn't be able to cast it through the Thalia. But if this is a Mantis Rider, I think we survive at 1. Alright, looks like another Lieutenant. And we might be dead. Let's just go ahead and yield until instep and see if we die. 6, 12. Oh yeah, we are super dead. Don't let your opponents draw cards, kids. It's not cool. Okay, well, we get Anger of the Gods, and it's not even worth Chalice because they can get Vile. And you never want to board any card for a specific one. This stops Champion, Vile, and Noble. Noble and Vile make their deck work. I don't know, what would we be cutting? So, Cryptic Command only buys a turn, but a turn's probably enough. The Owl, they're going to empty most of their hand unless we can cut them off their mana base. The Sorcery feels bad, but bouncing their lands is kind of what we're supposed to do. Oh boy. Remand is horrible against the Caverns deck. So far I'm feeling this, and needing to trim 2, which is probably just going to be... It feels bad cutting your namesake card, but there's no way humans keep 7 cards in hand. If they do, we've won. And probably just Dictate. Just costs too much mana, is color restrictive. Ooh, the pain. Alright, well, this is a turn 1 Chalice, or turn 1 Boomerang. We have things to do for multiple turns. Hopefully they're leaning on Vile. Chalice for 1. Did we get you, opponent? Because I don't really have a backup plan. $20 as they go Caverns and then run out of Noble. no noble. I was right about the caverns, though. And that means I need to start drawing cards to further my game plan. We can boomerang next turn. Probably have to boomerang through Athalia. Little did we know, opponent didn't run out their 1-drops because they didn't realize Cavern could get through Chalice. Kite Cell. Well, that's why we ran out Howling Mine. We don't really have a ton of good cards, and kind of need to start refilling. Apparently didn't respect the exhaustion. Either that or there's another freebooter coming down next turn. Alright, well that kind of does something. Do I get tricky and hope that they're running out of Phantasmal Image? Because alternatively, I'm just going to boomerang a land and hopefully keep them off of like a Thalia for a turn. Or if they play out Thalia, I'll just boomerang Thalia at end step, and that doesn't really progress me anywhere. I think the agenda of our deck is to bounce lands, so we need to follow that. Running out the sorcery because it has the least utility here, and I'm going to be nice and not bounce to the cavern so that they don't have to type in human again. It's a small thing, but one I hope my opponents appreciate about me. They did have to type in human again. Exhaustion? Because I really don't want to bounce that and give you another opportunity to call the right card. So they were planning on the vial. Oh boy. Alright, I guess this is Vision Skines to hit a land into a Howling Mine. Yeah, that works. Alternatively, I can boomerang, but I think I prefer to just start seeing critical massive cards here. When we start drawing a lot, that's when our deck starts to take off, and we kind of just need to dirtle our way through the beginning games. We can always chain boomerangs now and just boomerang, 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 exhaustion, sad opponent. Alright, so opponent did understand the interaction between Caverns and Chalice. That makes me sad, but right on them. Ooh, and then this will be interesting. Do they call Boomerang since they know that we already run it? Did they call Vision Skines because they've seen it? Oh, it's Thalia. Alright, well, opponent gets their chip damage in. I would love an Anger of the Gods! I'll let opponent discard a hand size, though. Anger of the Gods! Or all the boomerangs, just every single one of them. Alright, so this means I can boomerang Thalia, boomerang Champion. Take 3 again. Alternatively, boomerang Exhaustion, but I'm still going to be on the table for 4. Chaining boomerangs is highest upside here. Could have just boomeranged lands and tried to buy into another Anger of the Gods. Seeing 3 cards a turn, I've got to see it eventually. Although, to be fair, if I just stay alive, I can boomerang the champion and... Alright, I think this is when I need to start taking action. Really don't care about the red, so just go ahead and grab an island. Boomerang. But boomerang. Seeing as how we don't have any actual real good board clears, gonna have to get rid of the champion because it's representing 3 damage and being able to replay Thalia or whatever would grow it out of range of dying to Anger of the Gods. And this is where our opponent takes a moment and goes and Googles our deck. Oh no, they're playing fair. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Squirrel Nest. There's Thalia, currently on the table for 3. Anger of the Gods, you're in the deck. We have 3 draws. I believe in you. Opponent's discarding to hand size. Alright, Vision Scans is kind of a redraw. Oh, that is... Boo, hiss. Sad things. Boo, hiss. Sadder things. Alright, well, I am actually going to hardcast one of these Simian Spirit Guides. Your deck is never doing things correctly when you're hardcasting Simian Spirit Guide, but it's going to make it so that they can't attack in with the Meddling Mages, so it's going to basically prevent 4 damage. Being on the table only for 3 here is actually pretty important because we're getting a little low on life and we're not drawing anything relevant. But opponent has 11 cards in hand and 5 mana. Okay, well, that means that Simian Spirit Guide is no longer fogging damage. I probably should have realized that. Oh, Sin Collector. Opponent gets to see our hand and see how sad and depressed we are. Would you like to take our... Wait, the 3 mana one only gets an instant or sorcery? Why is the artifact zombie better than that? On like every front. Except for being a human. Alright, well, currently looking at 11 damage. I'm just going to chump the exhaustion one. Opponent's seen her hand. They know there's nothing going on. But if we draw an Anger of the Gods... Opponent is just discarding lands like crazy. Alright, well, Runeflare Trap could technically kill opponent. So this time I'm actually going to correctly set a stop in opponent's turn. And... oh, we have 3 of them? We got them! Guys, we did it! We got there! Now they're going to know what to name with Meddling Mage, though. Oh, crap. Thalia. Yeah. Well, we still got it. Oh. Oh, Magic. You almost had me there. We still had the Simian Spirit Guide, but you almost had me there. Alright, so I learned I don't want Chalice. I should have known that. I should have known I didn't want Chalice against the Cavern of Souls deck. That does mean, though, that I want... I don't know what I want. Is there like an equivalent of a high school guidance counselor that helps people sideboard that have given up hope? Because I think that's where we're at today. So that means we get Dictative Crucifix back in. That's still not going to counter anything. I guess the Owl gets to come back in, and then we got to bring in 2 Chalices because we're just terrible at this game. I don't know. Nimble Obstructionist could at least kill a non-exalted, non-Thalia'd Mantis Rider. Could also stifle a... oh, does that work? Does that work? As it comes into play. Why aren't you a trigger? That is not cool. I guess it could hit Thalia's Lieutenant. I just have to imagine that's better than Chalice against Cavern of Souls. Being able to stifle a Thalia trigger or a Kite Cell trigger does seem a little relevant. Well, there's an Anger of the Gods. We have no way to ramp it out, though. We have no additional card draw in hand. This is just a mulligan. This is turn 2 Fevered Visions, turn 2 Dictate. I really don't think that's good enough, but I don't really have the luxury of going lower. When I care about hitting a lot of cards and opponent's going to be picking apart my hand and being super aggressive, I've kind of just got to go with whatever works for me. I think the only reason we stole that was because of the turn 1 Chalice, though. We're not going to be able to keep up this time. This one might be a concession. Sorry, draw step still active. Is this a Mantis Rider? No, it's not. It's a Thalia. Sounds about right. Okay, well, this is a Simian Spirit guided turn 3 Fevered Visions. I don't believe that's what you want to do in Modern. And there's a Kite Cell. Oh, Lord. Lordy, lordy, lordy. Alright, so Anger of the Gods? I shouldn't have to ask this many times, deck. Be cool. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Alright, so currently thinking I have to run out this Dictative Crucifix at end step so I get an additional draw before our opponent does. I could Fevered Visions, but they're just going to make any drop and then they're not going to take damage from it, but they're going to get an additional card. If I'm coming back from this, it has to be through a board sweep. Are you going to name the trap this time? Oh, not cool, opponent. They didn't know what we boarded in. Alright, what does that even leave? So I can boomerang it? That's a legend. Yeah, that doesn't work. Well, opponent's just throwing cards away, so that's kind of okay. But definitely not in a good spot. Yep, you gotta drain me for 2. If I draw Boomerang and I think I just die here though. Because I go to 8, I'm getting hit for 6. Yeah, probably not going to survive this. Opponent's also getting an additional draw step. Exhaustion's a card, but if I cast anything that's not a creature, I die from Camball. So, yeah, it's over. We put up the good fight, but just not going to work. It's always sad whenever you see your opponent do something like clone a Camball, and you're just like, yep, that beat us, but our deck is a meme. It's a meme. It does things, just it helps your opponent more than it helps you most of the time. That was pretty awesome drawing 3 Runeflare traps and the same Fevered Visions draw step for lethal, though. That's probably going to make a highlight reel somewhere. 2 of them killed the opponent, and I even ended up having the misfortune of the auto tapper basically eating all my red mana. I had the extra Simian Spirit Guide to close it out, but so close, so close. Alright, well, hopefully we get something that's not nearly as disruptive. Hopefully we just get to draw cards and do fun things. Well, this is a Vision Skines into a Dictative Crucifix, so we're probably going to see 5 cards by turn 4. No, that's 7 cards by turn 4. Yeah, we can keep this. I'm not overly excited by it, but we have cards that do things in a Cryptic command, so hopefully that can buy us some time. I did really like the Theros God Cycles. Like, none of the cards were overly fantastic, but like Dictate of the Twin Gods was a cool card. Dictate of Erebos is still probably one of my favorite EDH cards. And drawing cards into burn seems like you're losing. Alright, well, we have a little bit of time. And that little bit of time basically says that we're going to be bouncing their only land every turn and taking 3. Or I guess 5 if you count the combat step. Oh, this is the Saffron Olive deck with Niv-Magus Elemental. Okay, so I don't think we're nearly as shafted as I thought we were, but that's not going to go very well for us. Almost everything in this deck is cheap. So I can dictate, get them up to 5 cards. They're probably going to play a land and run out 3 of them. Ooh, boy. But I have Runeflare traps, and Runeflare traps are going to be how I can steal this, so hopefully opponent trips a little bit. Cryptic's going to buy us a turn. We can Vision Skines into Runeflare on draw step and hit them for 10-ish. Oh, don't tell me this is a Phoenix deck, too. Oh, well. Opponent, you got the F6. If you can kill us, you can kill us. Huh. I wonder if anybody's ran this in Jeskai Ascendancy. Yeah, opponent, I'm giving you free reign here. Basically, if you have one more spell, I think we're dead. Well, Light Up the Stage isn't going to help you here. Although those cards will. So we're taking 13. Assuming they Swift Spear, or potentially dead if they have a Bolt. Okay, we're dead. Yep. Alright, well, this is one of those games where you basically say, I'm going to Chalice on 1, and hopefully you can't deal. This is probably a matchup for Anger of the Gods as well, which means Cryptic is too expensive. Exhaustion probably doesn't do enough, although it is technically a time walk, albeit a bad time walk. Basically, it's going to be the Chalice. I don't even know if we need the Angers. I'm not a huge fan of Noxious Revival. We're not going to be abusing anything we overly care about. Multiple turns back-to-back. Remand also seems quite bad. Might actually see that combination. Nothing overly scientific here. It's just going to be Chalice on 1. Opponent can't do anything. They're going to be running cards out so that they're not taking damage from Fevered Visions. And this is a turn 1 Chalice. So, GG's. And hopefully that's good enough. If we don't see a land drop, we can Vision Skines next turn. Yep. And if we don't see a land drop here, it might even be over. We only run 20 lands, but we also draw many, 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 many cards, so that is rough. I had hopes and dreams, but they all went away with temporary mana. They can still kill us. At least we get a boomerang it, but still. If we don't see land drops, this isn't going to go anywhere. But when your opponent is basically all 1 and 0 CMCs, you can only expect to do so much. This is like playing Burn with Soul Sisters. You should just decisively take it. This costs 3 to sack. So if we get a blue or even on Boomerang here, oh, it feels so bad. Wow. Is this scoop and move on with their life? If they spend one more turn committing into it, I guess we're still fine. Yep, and this is why decks can be powerful, but they usually don't stay in the meta very long, is because single cards can hate on them so hard. I'd love an Island, a Steam Vents, a Cascade Bluffs. But why, deck? Why? This is absolutely ridiculous. We probably should have just given the opponent one turn and Howling Mine first. Alright, well, they are being greedy here, which means we can still bounce it. Oh, jeez. Hopefully opponent's just getting the read, though, that they have to go all in on this thing. So, Fevered Visions is probably the worst here. Because if they basically just count this up to 20 and that's how they're expecting to win, I can at least bounce it and kind of make a comeback from there. But deck, we're 14 cards down with a single land. Like, you got to be cooler than that. There we go. Alright, so sacrifice is part of the cost, equal to the number of charge counters it used to have on it. I am going to be very greedy and expect opponent to take one more turn not to crack it. Because they have to count to 20 with that, otherwise they're not going to win. Although it's very possible they just leave up 3 mana from now until the end of time, so... Well, there are some lands. I can work with lands. I don't know what the correct read here is. I need to bounce it before they get to 20, but if they just leave the 3 mana up, I don't know what timing I need to try to respect. Alright, well, opponent, you successfully... you successfully F6 through your upkeep. This is Howling Mine. I don't know how to feel about that. Because clearly the opponent wasn't playing around the fact that we could have potentially had a bounce spell, but it did look like they unintentionally F6 through it. They're probably out of spells that they could cast, though. I can wait. I'm at 20. Sulfur Falls is great. This deck probably needs a Reliquary Tower somewhere in the main board. Given the way that they're playing, I'm not expecting that Anger of the Gods to do anything. I should have yielded to Howling Mine many, many turns ago. I should have yielded through like everything many, many turns ago. Okay, so that should be lethal. So I get to Vision Skines. Yeah, let's just Exhaustion first. It's mildly safer. So opponent should be going down to 7 cards in hand. We can make them draw 4 at their upkeep. Do get to see more of their deck though, which is nice. Pew! Sorry, I'm not even really sure what dialogue I could try to continue to have here. Just because... Okay, you can Manamorphose. Although, I don't think I even want to see what you're going to try to do. You're taking 33 here, opponent. Sorry, 34 because you're going to draw another card. Yeah, okay. So apparently Chalice on 1 is how we win that game. I am also getting to a point that I believe I need to have an answer for a Braid. So Counterflux seems like the worst way to do that. Noxious Revival to get back a Chalice actually is seeming like it's gaining some value here. Probably just cut the other Cryptic. Pew pew, 33. Opponent being on the play is a huge get for them. We basically have to have Chalice on turn 1. Otherwise, there's not a lot coming back from there. Just drawing them into so many 1-drops and basically making sure that they hit their land drops every turn is just asking for problems. I mean, we have a Simian Spirit Guide, but I'm looking for a Chalice. Again, I'm looking for a Chalice. I don't think I can go super low at this point, though. Well, there's a Chalice and an Anger of the Gods, which is basically everything that I need to make this happen. We're going to be cracking a fetch off the Flooded Strand, so tucking a Runeflare trap to the bottom is fine. It also means that we can just like shuffle it in and try to grab it later, and Eye of Nowhere doesn't seem great at the moment. If they're back on the Shrine of Burning blah blah blah, then they need to... we'll need to find a bounce spell eventually, but in the meantime, this is Chalice on 1 and Anger of the Gods hopefully on turn 3. Currently 1-1 and 1 CMC.deck. Alright, well there's another land. I really want to try to avoid the shock if possible. So Steam Vents can come down on turn 2 when I'm not doing anything, then Sulphur Falls will come down for the Anger. So in the meantime, we can just grab an island, Simian Spirit Guide, and Chalice. Chalice. We'll see if they have an Abrade. Kiln Fiend. Alright, that's a pretty good card. So we could potentially be taking 14 next turn. I don't like that. Sulphur Falls for Boomerang. Then that way if they invest on Kiln Fiend, I can just bounce it. Probably take 5 from the Swift Spear. Sorry, 2 from the Swift Spear. Maybe 3? I don't know. Depends on what opponent's got. I don't think that they're actually on the Abrade plan. I think I'm okay taking 6. We'll see if they commit into something else for the Boomerang. They're not. They're not going to be able to replay the Kiln Fiend, and Anger of the Gods is just so good here. I'm going to slow roll it. They're going to have another turn to play out Kiln Fiend. We'll probably take another 2 or 3 from the Swift Spear, but that's less than what the Kiln Fiend is currently offering, so that seems like a fine exchange. Alright, Light Up the Stage is a card, but when we're trying to draw cards for our opponent, that doesn't seem super bad. Yeah, that Mutagenic Growth would have been good on the Kiln Fiend. Alright, going deep. Bedlam Reveler. Alright, opponent, you got some spice. Don't really want to take the shock here, but I need an engine, so... Woo, Fevered Visions. Then that means Anger of the Gods can come down and clear everything but the Bedlam Reveler. So, Kiln Fiend next turn's definitely going to eat it. Exhaustion seems fine. Are they going to 4? Okay. Discarding Kiln Fiend feels loose, but you do you, opponent. Ooh, that doesn't really help. So I can plan on taking 6 from the Bedlam Reveler next turn and not die, but it's going downhill quickly. Very, very quickly. Another Chalice doesn't even really do it. Opponent's sequencing is really, really making my head hurt. I guess they just wanted to discard a card. Oh, and that's beyond awkward. So... I can Noxious Revival Boomerang. But that's going to cost 2 life, and I'm still going to take the damage from the Swift Spear. Yeah, deck, I could have seen some better cards. I know I'm mostly at fault for that, but you could have tried to make up the difference a little bit. Because opponent gets to play whatever the heck they want to play, and I'm basically just eating all the damage. Oh, I even punted. I was supposed to Noxious Revival before Fevered Visions. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. Opponent got this one. They really did have a favored deck to beat us. That does feel like our 30-70 matchup. A lot of those don't exist. Jund versus Tron is one of them. Burn versus basically any of the mono-white life gain dexes, and probably Howling Mind versus 1CMC.deck is not great. I don't believe... So I took most of my list off of Jeff Hoogland's list. Like I said, he's most well known for actually playing it. And I did almost a 1-for-1. I think I made a couple of sideboard considerations. Yeah, I didn't like the Chandra Flamecaller, but there's no life gain in this list. I think that you're just taking a free concession to burn, and I know he scoops fairly frequently, so it's probably just what it is, but Ooh, how do I feel about this? This is a turn 2 Howling Mine into a Fevered Visions. We can do better. We can do so much better. That's not better. That's not better at all. That is awkward. That is beyond awkward. But it's where we're at. Oh, that's so bad. So very bad. Alright, that at least means we get a remand. And Bloodstained Mire means that we probably have discard in our future. Also might mean we have Stubborn Denial in our future. Alright, Stubborn Denial basically confirmed. We're playing against Grixis Death Shadow. Which means that we can cheese the crap out of a kill with a trap. Yeah, I'm not going to 2-for-1 myself to remand it because they can just recast it. The awkward horribleness continues. I think that makes us 1 and 2. I'm so bad at remembering what my records are. Can I look here? I can't. Well, opponent targeted us, so they still might be trying to figure out what we're doing. And opponent saw a Vision Skies. Not horrible. Yep, opponent, you opt all day long. As long as you're drawing cards, I'm happy. And I'm even happy for you. Some people say that very sarcastically, but I'm actually quite content with you drawing replacement cards. Alright, so opponent was going to tap blue mana and opted out, which means they're probably going to try to Stubborn Denial this. They know we have 2 Simian Spirit Guides, but I'll try to guide for a real card. Ooh, or they'll just Thought Scour. Okay. Ooh, that is what I'm talking about. Miko Koro. Howling Mine means that we're going to be active. Also means that opponent's K commands are now turned on. They could always shoot us for 2, but that doesn't really do anything overly productive. But if they dip a little bit low because of trying to lower their life total for Death Shadow, we remand. They draw from Howling Mine, and for turn, Runeflare Trap is active. They're currently at 9 cards in hand. So we're getting within cheese range. Cheesy range. All right. Ooh. I don't like that Death Shadow. That's a real card right there. But if I remand it, they just get to replay it, so... You, sir, have a Death Shadow. You have 2 Death Shadows. Ooh, what does that mean? I think it means we wait for their life total to go down a little bit and try to Runeflare Trap. Worst case, we can always just full cost it. Oh, this is horrible. Alright, so we can activate Miko Koro, we can remand, and we can Runeflare Trap? No, we're 1 off. So remand, Miko Koro, Runeflare Trap. No, we're fine. But if opponent has a Thought or a Stubborn Denial, which they haven't shown us any yet, it does absolutely nothing. Well, we can see if they want to try to kill us this turn. If they get greedy and use all their mana, it can happen. All right. I don't feel very confident. Another Death Shadow. Alright, well, best out here seems like drawing another trap, so hope and pray. That's a remand. That's not a trap. Well, we're dead on table anyway, so going to take the minimal thinning here. We also get to remand our Runeflare trap twice, which means we actually might be able to cheese it out if we have enough mana. Just cast it 3 times. Or get 2 of them and have remands. It might happen. So they're going to draw from Howling Mine. I have to activate Miko Koro. What are the odds to cast something before combat? Probably not high. I get a Runeflare trap, remand, Runeflare trap, Runeflare trap. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. That means they have another Stubborn Denial, though. Now we see the flaws inherent in the system of letting your opponent draw all of their interaction. But if we go out in a blaze of glory. So we each draw a card. Runeflare trap for red. Opponent, can you dump 4 cards? I guess 5 cards. Okay, so I can remand this now. But then they'll just have another blue. So I think I have to go for this now with Simian Spirit Guide. If I didn't have to pay 2 to activate Miko Koro, we would have been fine. But the way it's currently standing, I get a remand, they get a Stubborn again. So I could have remanded the trap, but that would have only given me an out for drawing Simian Spirit Guide, which I guess is better than them just replaying Stubborn Denial. Yeah, that was probably a punt. Yeah. Having to activate Miko Koro there was definitely the issue. If I would have had a way to get another card draw for them, that would have been significantly better. Alright, so 1 converted mana costs are filling their deck. They also have Kolaghan's Command, so I'm not overly excited about that. Counterflux is basically just a fantastic way to not get countered by Stubborn Denial, although it's trading 3 mana for 1. If we're going to a late game, that's about one of the few ways that we get to pull it off. They do have a pretty greedy mana base, but Exhaustion probably just won't cut it. If they're attacking in with their creatures, they're at least 5/5s or 7/7s, 8/8s. Like, they're just massive. Anger of the Gods is never going to snag one of their creatures. They're just too big. Nimble Obstructionist flashing in can actually finish off a game when we're kind of in that same position as last time around, we would just flash it in, attack for 3, be done. It's not great. It also can stifle a Snapcaster trigger. It can also stifle a land trigger if we're going to hopefully be bouncing all of their lands with Boomerang and Eye of Nowhere, then we can hopefully just stifle landfall drops. That also makes it so that their life total doesn't go nearly as low. They are on Thought Scour. Archive Trap is in here for Phoenix because post Pyromancer's Ascension you can just activate this once and get a free win. But this might be a consideration. It would basically be Chalice or Archive Trap depending on if we wanted to hopefully cheese them out of K-Command or cheese them out of fetching. I think Chalice is just going to be a better card. We have so many artifacts that we care about that this kind of just gives them other targets as well. Like we can hopefully stick a Howling Mine if they eat the Chalice, but none of that is great. Stubborn Denial is a very good Magic card. I'm not a huge fan of Dictative Crucifix. It just costs more, and typically the timing on it isn't super relevant of having Flash. We want our opponents to draw cards, so rather just have Howling Mine. This is a little harder to interact with, but artifact count and all that garbage from before. Noxious Revival can pick up Exhaustion, but I'm likely cutting this. Ugh, nothing feels great here. None of it at all. We have to cut 4, and Exhaustion just feels bad. If they have creatures, they're ahead, and if they have interaction, they have interaction. I would like to play first. Thank you very much for asking. Alright, so this is Howling Mine on 1, Vision Skynes, hopefully draw into something actually relevant on turn 3. That's going to see 3 additional cards, so we'll have 6 cards on turn 3. Opponent's going to probably take that long to shock their life total down. Yeah, it's fine. It's not exciting, but it's fine. We also get to get red on turn 1 without a shock. Kind of relevant. And it is correct to wait to fetch. Getting a little antsy, wanted to get some F6 value, but I'll put a wait up. Another reason not to mulligan is because they do have Thoughtseizes and Inquisitions. Usually they run about 6 of them, so it could be very relevant not to allow them to pick apart a hand that you've mulliganed down. Alright, well that was a pretty decent draw, but it is going to be susceptible to discard now. Stubby? Yeah. I don't mind getting a Stubby out of the way this early. Opponent's deck is made very well to 1-for-1, and we're drawing them cards, so there's a reason this deck is a meme. You're currently down a game versus Death Shadow. Yep, there's the Thoughtseize. Goodbye, Runeflare Trap. I could potentially see them taking Counterflux. It does take their first threat. Opponent did show a Snapcaster game 1. A lot of times this deck runs a non-zero number. Usually not the full 4, but somewhere between like 2 to 3. Yep. They didn't want us playing no counter magic. Alright, Miko Koro can get our draw engine going. Eye of Nowhere can bounce a land when they're double spelling on turn 1. Means we probably have a Gurmag Angler in our future. Yeah, I'm good to set them back a little bit. Miko Koro is probably the correct call, just that we can try to draw into a Fevered Visions or a Howling Mine. But bouncing a land when they don't have a board state is what this deck's supposed to do until we start getting all of our cards together. Yep, unfortunately that does mean that they get a shock themselves, so we might see some Death Shadows, but we have a trap, so opponent knows they can't go too low. Ooh, that is a Cryptic Command. Vision Skynes into something else. Cryptic if they tap down blue. Or just pop Miko Koro. It costs 1 less to pop Miko Koro than it does Division Scans to have them draw 2. Significantly easier to activate Runeflare Trap with these two than it is to try to piece it together with lands and random artifacts. Alright, and opponent made a note to get it to be a 5-5. So I am expecting another Stubborn Denial. They left up blue last turn, and they did intentionally get this to be bigger than a 4-4. K-Command? Okay. Runeflare Trap is too good. Cryptic's too flexible. It's going to have to be the Skynes. Alright, so Cryptic's going to buy us a turn here. I want to do it while they're tapped down, so we can go ahead and draw a card and bounce Death Shadow. I'm more concerned about the clock the opponent's presenting than them hitting their land drops. Hitting their land drops is also going to allow them to modify their life total at will, so this seems fine. Oh, and they're even tapped out. Alright. Simian Spirit Guide, you done right by me. My vision quest was successful. It found me a Chalice of the Void after bouncing a Death Shadow. That's why we do what we do. Those moments, they feel so good. Opponent just blew their K command, so they might not have artifact removal in hand. So tasty. Everything just had to go right there. Deck, that was a good feel-good moment. Until you K command, have us discard Runeflare Trap. We die. Horrible death. Alright, so they pretty much confirm that they have the... Oh, poor opponent. They had to do that in such a roundabout way. Echoing Truth is quite painful for our deck, though, and we're trying to run out 4 copies of Howling Mine and 4 copies of Fevered Visions. Echoing Truth can hurt. They decided that they'd rather get the Death Shadow out this turn and just remove the fact that we can one-shot them. Well, this is about as right as things can go. If opponent can find a way to lose 4 life, then we're just dead. In the meantime, Chalice... Do I want to show opponent our deck? So we could still technically win with Fevered Visions. Probably not. I can run out Manic Monkey. Manic Monkey can attack in next turn. Did we bring in Stiflebird? We did not bring in Stiflebird. Flashing in Stiflebird here would actually win us the game. Netsuke isn't going to do anything. So I can draw into a Counterflux. That's a Fevered Visions. I think we're dead to a Fevered Visions. Yeah, opponent just plays land. That's good enough. Opponent, you get it. I'll move on with my life. We are currently 1-3. But Howling Mine. Alright, and I think this might be the first time that we didn't win the die roll tonight. Which probably bodes poorly for us, since we still never won. Alright, so this is turn 2, start bouncing lands. There's so many matchups where that goes horribly. And all these bounces are sorceries. We can start saying it for Miko Koro. We want to win big. Alright, well, this is at least a turn 1 Vision Skynes. So, tuck back a land. Hopefully draw into a Howling Mine first. That would be cool. Humans again? Yep, humans again. And they got the Vial. It's a good thing we didn't keep that Remand hand for the first go. I do think I'm probably going to Vision Skynes at their end step and try to set up for a Howling Mine or a Fevered Visions. Thalia? Meddling Mage. Opponent apparently thinks that they are on the sweet stuff. Opponent has an island out and you're Meddling Mage in the dark. Also means they likely have a weak hand. Little did you know, opponent, that we were going to Simian Spirit Guide into a Skynes on your end step. Because that's what we do. Just the most random crap we can hopefully piece together. If opponent's looking for our MTGO history to see if there's any deck that we frequent, I think the only things I've 5-0'd with are... Oh, geez, I don't even know what I've 5-0'd with. A lot of them were just Cube. I think almost all my 5-0s are Cube. It's my favorite format to just sit down and play for fun. I think I have a couple of Lands 5-0s in Legacy. I potentially have some Pauper 5-0s with Elves. But this pause is making me think opponent is frantically searching the internet to figure out what type of deck I play. Which should lead them pretty shortly to our stream, and our viewer count's going to go up, and they're probably going to name... Oh, they went for Opt. Okay. Here I am going deep, and opponent's just like, it's a blue deck. They've got Opt. Alright. Am I going to Simian Spirit Guide into a Miko Koro? That just feels so bad. Like, so bad. But why do I have so many lands? I have 20 in the deck. I tucked 1. So we've seen 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've seen 7 lands in our top 11, because we technically put 1 on bottom, out of 20. And we had 2 Simian Spirit Guides. Yeah, I think that's putting me on Miko Koro for us to both draw a card. Hopefully opponent ends up putting something in off the vial so that they can't flash in a Thalia to ruin our day. And Noble Hierarch again, otherwise they would have put Champion out first to grow off the Meddling Mage. I didn't run out Miko Koro. Clearly I'm paying attention. Hopes and dreams usually die out at the 1-3 bracket. Especially because we already lost to this matchup. Ooh, red-black. Is this some spice? No, it's a free boots. Alright, you get our exhaustion. You get to see our super awkward all-land hand. Meddling Mage gets in. Opponent should have an idea of what we're doing. This deck is fringe, but it's known about. Ooh, another Vial's quite painful. Alright, so opponent doesn't know about the Cryptic command. I wanted to Miko Koro because I assumed I'd be drawing, but I actually think that might have been missequencing. I was supposed to put out a blue land so I could actually Simian Spirit Guide into a Cryptic command. Luckily, we're not staring down much of a clock yet, but humans always seems to have Mantis Rider. So this 3 damage is going to turn into 6 quite quickly. That's also going to be a big boy here in a moment, especially if we start drawing them cards. Ah, and here's my boy Mantis. If you didn't catch it, the Jeskai mid-range deck was actually amazing. I had so much fun with that. 4 Lightning Angels, 4 Mantis Riders, 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Lightning Helix. It was everything I could have hoped for. Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to counter this because of the cavern, but whatever. Alright, well, opponent knows about the most of this, so by all means. Cryptic's going to be on tap draw, and I honestly cannot believe how awkward of a draw this has been. Currently looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 damage on the table. It actually might be correct just to take this and assume that I can't get hit again. Just try to Miko Koro one last time, then start using Cryptic to fog. Okay, well, looks like Cryptic's fogging now. But now the question is it correct to exhaustion? Because I can Cryptic tap, but I won't have enough mana. Oh, I'll have enough mana to actually Miko Koro. So tap all creatures, return target permanent. But they'll just freeboot again. Yeah, I have to draw. Tap all creatures, draw card. And filter lands on Moto are not designed very well. But I think most people are aware of that. Alright. Does that change anything? That means that I can Cryptic, and I need one more turn before I can Cryptic and Fevered Visions. Alright, so he gets a peek. I get to activate Miko Koro and basically die. Tapping down the team wouldn't have done anything there. I could have bounced the freebooter, but I would have lost the ability to tap down the team. Exhaustion's a sorcery, so picking that up wouldn't have done anything at instep. Opponent actually did play this very well. I basically just need to activate Miko Koro here and see what happens. Yeah, alright. GG's opponent. So, similar to last time, Anger of the Gods comes in. Probably Nimble Obstructionist. Not a huge fan of Remand here. And I think that's how we ended up. It took us a while to get there, but I think that's what we ended up at. Chalice not very great against the Cavern. It can hit a Aether Vial on the play, but as soon as I see a Cavern, it doesn't do anything, and boarding in 4 cards for 4 cards is just horrible, especially if you have to start on the play. Noxious Revival is just meh, but we just don't really have anything here. It would be nice to have a really good board clear. I actually had Aetherize ready to board into the side because I thought that'd be a little bit better. I'm guessing that's why Hoogland is running the Chandra Flamecaller in his list. Like I said, this feels more like his deck. I know he's actually become kind of famous for running it, and he plays it fairly often on his stream. I think he has like a ton of different... Yeah, he has a ton of videos for this. So if you are interested in this deck, I would highly recommend coming here as a resource. I do think there needs to be some kind of a board clear and potentially a way to deal with Phoenix now that Phoenix has become a meta deck, but these are all cards. They do things. We'd love to play first. And I'm going to try to mulligan for something better last time. Our opening hand was just awful. Alright, so no turn 1 Boomerang, but we do have a turn 1 Howling Mine, and that'll at least get us some cards. And last time we ran out of gas. It took a while to get there, but we ran out of gas. So I'm going to ship back Exhaustion. I don't feel like it's great against Aether Vial. And go ahead and get Howling Mine out on turn 1. Turn 1 on the play, down to 3 cards in hand. No lands. Just how we drew it up. They have the Cavern on 1. And a Champion. And this is why we didn't bring in Chalice, because it would have done nothing here, where Howling Mine actually might replace the Simian Spirit Guide that we pitched. Island! Come on, Island! Oh boy. This is going to be just like when we played against 1CMC.deck. Well, opponent's going to freeboot here. Probably going to take our Vision Skynes because Boomerang isn't actually threatening a ton. It's going to slow down the clock from the Champion of the Parish, but that doesn't really... If we're stuck on one land, opponent doesn't care. They might even take the Cryptic because it's the most flexible card that we have, despite the fact they'll probably win before we can play it. Yep, take the Vision Skynes. They're afraid of us drawing lands. Would you look at that? We got a land. Alright, well, we can deal 4 damage here. It might have been correct to get a Steam Vents. I don't have any red cards now, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to draw any. They're trying to keep up with Howling Mine, and I have a Boomerang. I think I'm just going to run out the Owl. The Owl's done 8 damage so far tonight. Haha, take that. 4 damage. Who would have known? Owl did something. So they have to run out 3 cards if I'm going to Boomerang one, and they'll still take damage. Not great, but can always bounce the Champion. Lower the clock pretty significantly. Could always bounce freeboots too, try to draw some cards, but that's going to be a long-term play. Don't Thalia. Be cool. We're friends. Alright, well, they know we have 2 Boomerangs, so I'm assuming Boomerang? Yep. Alright, so what do I even want here? Yeah, I definitely need to get Steam Vents. If I would have thought about it, we have Anger of the Gods we're drawing too. Alright, so Obstructionist can flash in. I'm still on the table for a lot. Getting rid of the Meddling Mage feels pretty good. Otherwise, I can Vision Skynes hit for 4 off of the Owl, but we're nowhere near winning. I can go get a Steam Vent, flash in the Owl, block the Kite Cell, hopefully draw a land and a Simian Spirit Guide, double Vision Skynes, and ping them for probably around 11. That's not enough. Could just flash in Nimble Obstructionist, try to survive for another turn, hold up Cryptic, and bounce a couple of cards, get attrition off the Owl for a couple of turns. I think opponent has to get a pass here, and Obstructionist is coming out to buy time. Just drawing them into more cards means that we might be looking down a Thalia, and our hand can't be taxed. We're already too light on mana. Taking a shock for the Steam Vents is going to be painful, though. Okay, well, it looks like they're trying to tap for a Mantis Rider. Is this a Night of Autumn? Wow. Alright, so this is not a human. That's not going to grow. Currently looking at 7 damage on the table. Let's see what they want to blow up. If it's the Howling Mine, I have to stifle it. If it's anything else, or if it's the Nitsuke, or if they try to grow it, that's probably fine. The Nitsuke is our long-term game plan, but Cryptic's hopefully going to buy us a little bit of time. I like Cryptic being this heavy on our top end. I kind of feel like we don't have a lot in our 4-drops. Yes, it's a meme. It's bad. Simian Spirit Guide is basically free mana. I do feel like Cryptic might be a 4 of in this deck, but it is a little tight. Alright, well, it looks like we're going to 1. Hopefully you don't have another human. Exhaustion is okay. Alright, so currently on the table for 8. Basic land. Sulphur Falls does. Okay. So we're on Cryptic, Vision Skines, Trap. It's still not lethal. So we can Vision Skines now, but we're dead. Wow, just so not looking good. All right. So tap, draw. We have so many bad cards. Just so many bad cards. Is this Mantis Rider? Deputy of Detention. That's kind of okay. I'm not excited about it, but kind of okay. Oh, Thalia. Yep. All right. Well, that basically locks us out of it. I want to reveal hand to my opponent. Yeah, so we were on the fringe of winning here. We had 2 of the traps. Opponent's deck is very disruptive, though. Humans has a lot of really good utility creatures, probably too many for what they're doing. But Howling Mine, like I said, it's a meme. We were here to draw cards, hopefully trap stuff in opponent's hand. Our most fluid games were where we had like a Howling Mine on turn 1 and didn't get mana screwed. There were like 3 games that we got a turn 1 Howling Mine with 1 mana. Super painful. Otherwise, though, we draw cards, opponent draws cards. It's fun. We had 3 opponents actually talking to us in chat. The first one was actually being very vocal about how cool he thought the deck was, basically wanting to see Fevered Visions work in Modern. This is jank beyond jank. It's fun. Modern has become very fast, degenerate, and streamlined. I've said it more than once. It is hard to do fringe decks in Modern still. It used to be where you could do it. It wasn't even that long ago that you could do it, but then we just started to see a lot of resurgence of quick graveyard combos. Arclight Phoenix Dredge, Hardened Scales can attack on many different axes. This deck requires like 3 things to go right. When you're drawing a lot of cards, it's possible to get to 3 things that go right, but without any hard interaction for your opponents, it doesn't really make a lot of progress. I don't think the sideboard was quite right. I don't think Hoogland's sideboard was quite right. He is pretty good at getting decks set up. He sees a lot of them. He plays way more than I do. If you are interested in watching more of this deck, I'd go see his thoughts. I haven't watched very many of the streams, but I am aware of the deck. First time running it. We get fun interactions, like when we were playing against Death Shadow and we basically cryptic bounced the Death Shadow, drew into a Chalice. Opponent had to Echoing Truth. They try to Thoughtseize, figure out that we had them dead if they drew 3 cards. Like, this does lend itself to fun play, and I would love to sit down and play any of my decks against Stowling Mine. We'd sit there, have fun, and I'd probably win, but we could still have fun while playing. Cascade Bluffs is actually super relevant for this deck. Being able to exile Simian Spirit Guide and cast one of your bounce spells on turn 1 is the core of the deck. It's why it works. When we were playing against Ponzo, we never got the ability to take their turn 1 Utopia Sprawl, either with Boomerang as an instant or Journey Eye of Nowhere, whatever the card's called. Eye of Nowhere. But it's a good way to basically 2-for-1 the land enchantment, and that's pretty much the only way that you can cast things that cost more than 3 in Modern. I had fun. It's fun to play. We lost most of our matches, but I walked away actually having fun with the deck, and that's not something I always say, so that should be an endorsement of itself, but wouldn't recommend if you're trying to spike a tournament, but if you're just going to go to FNM and have a good time with friends, highly recommend. This deck does exactly what it promises. People draw cards, and we memed pretty hard. Well, everyone, thanks for watching, and have a good one.